So, sure, there we go. So again, welcome, and you are in this workshop, and it's really a very long title, so I'm just gonna ask you to read it. Then I'm gonna move on and allow Shinta to go ahead and talk to us a little bit about that.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. I am Shinta Hernandez from Montgomery College, and I am proud to be a part of this global award-winning fellowship. Just very briefly, this is a fellowship that is centered around open pedagogy and renewable assignments, all the while tackling the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we create these assignments, faculty create these assignments in interdisciplinary teams. These assignments are interdisciplinary in nature, and we have our students become central in their learning process, and they are agents of change in their communities. And so we were awarded this Open Pedagogy Award for Excellence a couple of months ago by OE Global, and we are just humbled and honored to be a part of this great work. So thank you to the faculty and the students whose hard work paid off. And just very quickly, to give you a sense of how this fellowship has grown in just 3 years. 3 years ago, it started at Montgomery College, which is located in Montgomery County, Maryland. And I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but I do want to point out at the very bottom of the first column, nearly 600 students enrolled or engaged in these assignments. And what that means is that nearly 600 students participated in some sort of community engagement activities through their open pedagogy work. And then a year later, we partnered with Kwantlen Polytechnic University, and you can see the growth in the number of students there. Just a little over 700 students went out and tried to make the world a better place, for lack of a better term. And then we're just so excited that this past year, we've added Maricopa Community Colleges and one faculty member from SUNY Delhi. And look at I really want to share with you the numbers: 41 faculty fellows, 16 interdisciplinary teams. And look at the bottom there, over 1,600 students total participating in these open pedagogy projects. And in other words, participating in the community to tackle those United Nations goals. So we're just really pleased to see this growth. And then now, let me just really turn it over to the stars of our performance here. We have before you 4 out of the many who you will hear throughout this month-long conference. We have Professors Rebecca Razavi, Professor Gaddis Effendi, Professor Emerald Jones, and Professor Nicola Plaus, who will talk with their students about the projects that they deployed or the assignments that they deployed over the fall semester. The students will tell us what their projects are all about and offer us some reflecting words as well. So with that note, I'm just going to mute and let you all take it away. Carla, I don't know how you would like to.
Yes, absolutely. So Rebecca's gonna hit us off for us. Professor Razavi is going to be our first with her student, and so they're going to just introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they've done.
Super. So it looks like, am I sharing my screen at the moment?
Yes, but a moment ago we were able to see the presentation. Right now we just see a little grayish.
I know, that's what I see too. I'm not sure why that is not bigger too.
Oh, no. Now we can see it.
You can. Okay. It looks really tiny to me right now. Sorry. Did it, shoot, I think it might have just disappeared.
Still there. And for me, I don't know about anybody else. It might look tiny on your end, Rebecca, because you're sharing.
Okay. Okay. I made it big on my end so I can see what I'm doing. I hope that it will move along as you all are watching. Do let me know if it doesn't, and I'll figure this thing out. But I just am so pleased to be part of this. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rebecca Razavi, and I teach entrepreneurship and leadership at Montgomery College through a scholarship program there. And we're going to be talking, my student Jalissa Mahano and I are going to be talking about a new assignment in our fall course of, it's like an introduction to entrepreneurship that focuses on corporate social responsibility. And I found that corporate social responsibility is a great way to introduce the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. It should have just forwarded. Did the screen just forward for you all? And here are, so there are actually 5 different goals that this assignment sort of focuses on. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those. The 7, 8, and 9 are affordable and clean energy, decent work, economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And then also on the other side of the spectrum are sustainable cities and communities and responsible consumption and production. So it covers a lot of territory, a lot of possible things for students to explore. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a moment about before we get into the actual assignment is the context for this. So this assignment is part of a series of assignments that all together go together to give students the opportunity to apply for a digital badge, which is like a micro-credential. You might have heard of them that way. This is called the Changemaker Badge, and it's based on the competencies that Ashoka University has created that have to do with becoming a change maker. So that's the context for this one assignment. This assignment actually focuses on these first 2 competencies, which is helping students identify themselves as change makers, and also involves some creative problem solving. So that's kind of the context. And then what you can see here is that each one of these circles really reflects one assignment that students complete. And then at the end, what they do is they'll earn a badge. And this is just a representation of the badge that they'll earn, that can be put then on their LinkedIn account, in their digital signatures and other places, and represents all of the work that they've done. So the assignment that we are going to talk about today takes place in the fall semester. I'm pushing the wrong button there. There we go. And like I said, it focuses on this concept called corporate social responsibility. Students are asked to create an infographic focused on the corporate social responsibility portfolio of a business of their choice. And the way that it went is that, well, first, these again are the competencies that it covers. And what we do to introduce the assignment is bring in a couple of speakers. So we have a speaker from a group called the FELIG Group, which helps companies develop their portfolios and their activities to support corporate social responsibility. And then also a speaker from a company called Good 360 that's a partnership between for-profit businesses that have overstock of some kind of supply or material that nonprofits can use, and they're the in-between for that. So it gives students just an idea of kind of some of the things that are being done in the world of corporate social responsibility. And then they're given the assignment to go out and find a business that they're interested in, and to do some research on the work that that company is doing in terms of corporate social responsibility. They use an app called Canva, which is really a terrific, very flexible way to put together interesting graphic, all kinds of different graphics, and they do, so that's what they've used. And just as a couple of examples, here's one that a student who's really interested in Warby Parker, he has very specific glasses that he wears, and so this is a company he's been interested in for a long time, and so that was what he created. Another student was really interested in Google, and this was the infographic that she created. And so you can get kind of an idea of the variety. Another student looked at Amazon and the work that they're doing. And finally, last and not least, was Jalissa Mahano's infographic that she created on a company called Conscious Step, a sock company. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Jalissa now to tell you a little bit more about the assignment and her experience in doing this. Jalissa, would you like to go?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to share this with you all. So my name is Jalissa Mahano, as Professor Razavi stated. I am a student at Montgomery College, majoring in social sciences. So I came to Montgomery College mostly because I wanted a hands-on education, and I knew that Montgomery College was going to offer that for me. But for this assignment specifically, I had to identify a company and research the mission and goals of this specific company and their plans to support the local community or environment. So for Conscious Step, they support social like causes, and for every sock that you buy, they align their support to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So for example, if you buy a sock with trees, you know that you're helping to conserve rainforests. So that is very important for me. But additionally, for this assignment, I learned the impact of CSR is everywhere. You can see it in the way that employees are like the initiative of employees, their volunteerism. You can see it in the way that a lot of the diversity of employees. But this assignment also helped me realize that I really want to continue my work globally. So I hope to become a Foreign Service Officer, either with the United States Agency for International Development or the United Nations. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, so this assignment really helped me see that I can do that. Additionally, with this assignment, I learned how important it is to hold companies accountable. And with companies having a good corporate social responsibility, you can see that. I never knew how to look up a corporate social responsibility report until I took this class and started to learn more about it. So now every time I visit, for example, Amazon, I can go to the bottom of the website and learn all about that they're doing and their commitment to the world. So that was really important for me because I would have never known that. And now I'm more than happy to share that with everyone. I'm like, do you know what Google is doing for the world? Do you know what they're doing for their employees? Well, now I can show you how to do that with corporate social responsibility. So that this assignment taught me a lot. And it also taught me that I can be a social entrepreneur. I can do the change that I see others doing. I'm able to do that as well. And I can help others who are also interested in becoming social change agents to do the same work that I'm doing. And so, yeah, so in conclusion, I'm very excited for this assignment because it's gonna put me on the pathway to get a Changemaker badge, which I'm gonna be so proud to hold that badge because it's gonna show to my future employers that I am an inclusive leader. It's gonna also show the world that I'm committed to tackling social problems as an entrepreneur on my way to achieve global justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. This is such a wonderful story and so amazing, such amazing work that you did, and so happy that these students were able to be part of it and be proud of what you're doing because this is really amazing. So thank you. If any of our participants have any questions, comments for our two wonderful presenters that we have so far, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them or put them in the chat. We'd take some questions here so that before we move on to our next presenters. Okay, well, amazing work. So really big applause. Maybe we can just put applause in the chat or awesome work. Yes, absolutely. This is really amazing, and congratulations on all your hard work that you're doing. This is really wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just tell you, you guys got to keep an eye out for Jalissa. She's going places.
Yeah, I'm writing that name down. That's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
So our next presenter is Professor Effendi, and I don't know, do you bring a student along or is it just going to be you today?
Sorry?
Is it going to be just you or did you have your student on?
It's just going to be me, but I do have my students on video.
Okay, wonderful.
So they have finished the program at MC and they're in another university.
Okay. And do you want to share? I know you missed the setup a little bit, so I wasn't able to check with you. Or would you like me to share the screen and you would want to walk through?
I could try.
Okay.
And then, okay, I hope it works. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it should be showing something
You should have
here.
your desktop. So if you just want to open, yeah, we see your desktop.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Okay.
Yeah,
So, all right. I think I practiced with Debbie and I have to do something here. Okay, there.
And then just make sure you're in the slideshow.
All right. Okay, the presenter. All right, so I hope you can see something, right? Okay, so my task was the feminization of migration, and this is integrating the disciplines of sociology of gender, anthropology, and psychology, achieving the SDG number 10. I worked together with my colleagues, Dr. Del Pino from the psychology department and Professor Tetral, and my task was to to design a project with feminization of migration. So the objective of the task was, of course, this learning assignments is to focus and look deeper into poverty, inequity, discrimination, and exploitation, and then using also the theoretical perspective of intersectionality. And the task is to develop a website highlighting an understanding of migrations, of feminization. So this activity is a group activity that consists of 3 to 5 groups. And so this is a 3-step process assignment. So first, the students watch and discuss the documentary film that I produced in 2003. And in this film, there are 3 parts of the film. The forced labor, referred to labor trafficking, and it encompasses the range of activities involved when a person uses force, fraud, or coercion. And then the second part is about sex trafficking and also child sex tourism. And so that encompasses a range of activities involved when a trafficker uses force, fraud, and coercion to lure or compel another person to engage in commercial sex act. And the last part of this documentary video is the bride trafficking, and this is the business of marriage matching or bride trade. So it was easy for me to set the table because this was a documentary that I made based on my research, so it was easy for the students to engage. I could probably play just a little bit of this documentary, so just to get a sense of the video. So I hope it works.
Perempuan Indonesia, nenek, ibu, dan anak perempuan berdedikasi pada keluarga dan rumah. Namun, para perempuan muda masih berumur 13 tahun diambil dari rumah, dijual oleh teman dan keluarga sendiri. Mereka dijual sebagai pembantu kepada para majikan yang menganiaya mereka. Dikawinkan, hidup dalam perkawinan penuh kekerasan. Mereka juga dijual sebagai pekerja seks.
And so it's also interesting about this video, introducing it to students in Montgomery College, the difference of how to conduct research. For example, in a developing country like Indonesia, there are some language that you cannot use because at that time was an authoritarian government. So we also discuss about that aspect, just to let the students know about different kinds of research in different countries. And then the second, and then the second step is guest lecture, and I find that the students are very interested having a guest lecture. And so Chandra Wawaruntu was very kind to come to my class and shared her experience and also guided the students with their research. And so that was really useful for my students. And the third step is, of course, creating a website that consists of data as well and analysis as well of the countries that they chose. And this website, the app that I used, it was the Weebly, and I find Weebly is really easy for students to use. And so they had, like, I think about more than a month to do this as a group. And then the students project. So I will perhaps just turn on the video for you so they can explain it themselves. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For our project, we worked together as a group to discuss the feminization of migration, specifically of women and girls in India. The trafficking of women in India has an estimated 20 to 65 million victims, mostly trafficked for sexual exploitation and forced marriage. In Indian society, men are regarded as far superior to women, to the point that there are millions of recorded sex-based abortions between the years 2000 and 2014, meaning that they had an abortion because the baby was going to be a girl. Actions like this led to much less women in the population, which of course then leads to the men in power incentivizing exporting women from other countries to be exploited in India. Our goal was to spread awareness about the issue, as well as better understand how this became the big problem that it is and why it continues to be in such large numbers today. In order to do this, we included an interview with Chandra Wawaruntu, a member of the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, as well as stories from other survivors, such as the stories of Lina and Charmi, excuse me. These two Bollywood actresses were trafficked under the false pretense of a modeling gig, and their stories are just two of many who have experienced similar situations. The inclusion of firsthand accounts such as these helps us better understand the harsh realities that these women face that often go untold, as well as making sure their voices are heard. Making sure that these women's stories are told is an essential step in enacting change. Along with firsthand accounts, we also made sure to highlight an organization like Traffic Watch, which is a good resource for educating oneself, as well as to take action. While we are making this project to learn for ourselves and also expose the facts on human trafficking in India for others, we are by no means experts, and it was important to share an organization with more in-depth knowledge for people to seek out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Colby, you want to continue on?
Okay. Yes, thank you. So thank you, Elise. So in our project, again, like we create websites together on feminization of migration. So in my group, we focus mainly on female migrant workers in Asia. So we focus on human side of the story and look into a socially lived experience, which means creating feminist theories and knowledge from the actual day-to-day experiences of people who are excluded and marginalized. So for example, we include interviews with migrant working mothers who came from countries far away with big dreams of being lawyers and teachers. But when they got to the United States, they put aside their childhood dreams so their children could fulfill their own. We also include an important interview, just what we said, Sandra Warantu, a survivor of human trafficking and domestic violence. Sandra explained details what happens during sex trafficking and sex trade. Such videos are powerful. It involves reflexibility, understanding how one social position influenced the ways that they understand the whole world. So we think that the human side of these stories is the key element, a key to feminist analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Colby and Elise. Thank you both for your work. And thank you for listening.
This is really wonderful, Professor Fendi. It's amazing to see the wonderfulness of what comes out of these. And just for the audience and participants, feel free again to unmute yourself now if you have any questions for our presenters, and or you can put them in the chat. I am going to also add in the chat. We do have like as if you were part of the beginning when Shinto was talking to us about the fellowship, and we had this year 41 fellows who participated in this with their students, and so. Most of them send us their videos, and some are still sending them in, and we'll add them to the showcase. So I just put the link in, so if you want to see more of this wonderful work that's happening across those three institutions that we work together for a year now, please go to that website, to that Padlet, and watch all the other videos. And we'll continue adding them as we get them from our fellows. But any questions, comments at this point? I always feel like we have to wait a couple of seconds extra because we are in a virtual environment where people might be typing or unmuting. So I'm going to wait a few more seconds here before we move to our next presenters. Okay, so our next presenters, Professor Jones and her wonderful student are here too, and they'll do the introduction, so it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Professor Emerald Jones. It's nice to meet everyone. I hope everyone's being safe and staying safe. I am a professor at Montgomery College. I teach at the Rockville location. So I teach sociology and criminology. I love teaching. That's a passion of mine. And so when I think about different assignments that I want to give my students, I always like to put myself in their shoes because I'm finishing up my PhD. I'll be graduating this May. And so I'm a student as well. So I understand the different things that students go through. So I try to be mindful of that. So this fellowship was very not only informative for me, but it taught me a lot of different things about, students, about what students need, about how to structure my classroom and the different assignments that we come up with. So when I started this assignment, it was originally something different, but then unfortunately the pandemic happened. So I wanted to change the assignment to fit where we are in the certain societal crisis. And that's what sociology is about. It's about studying and criminology, studying and understanding why people do the things that they do and how we can explain that at a micro or macro level. So the assignment that I ended up coming up with was called cultural mapping. And what students would do, they would pick a societal issue or a crime. And they would record themselves from 5 to 10 minutes, basically answering a couple of questions, describing what the crime or the societal issue is, what are the characteristics of it, why is this affecting society, and if they were a sociologist or criminologist, how would they go about solving it? And then I took it a step further after they recorded the video. And the reason why I did the video as a final project is because two things that I've learned: students have to get comfortable with speaking and writing, and a lot of students are not comfortable with speaking. And so I wanted to target something that I felt not only would help them, but helped me when, as I was a student trying to matriculate. So that was part of it. And then again, with the pandemic, the assignment was able to be deployed, not just where one group of students could see it, but we could send it to different programs, different disciplines, so that it could go across the board. And we were using technology and getting used to using computer and recording and doing graphics. So that was very important for me when I thought about this assignment. The second part of the assignment, something that I target on, is why. How can we decrease it? What are the solutions to fixing a societal issue or a crime or something that is ongoing? We always talk at these conferences about different things that are happening. So how do we, what is the end goal? And so the students created a visual pamphlet or infographic to show different organizations or different ways of which, if they were a criminologist or sociologist, how they would go about solving this issue. And the feedback that I got from the assignment was amazing. I had one student, she was magnificent the entire semester with her work ethic, her perseverance, her participation in class, and watching her video, it really touched me. And I want to let her introduce herself, give some background about who she is. But the feedback was just amazing. And it was something that was a very it was a very touchy moment for me because it was my first semester ever deploying something like this. I didn't give my students a multiple choice exam. I did something completely different. I didn't know how it was going to go. I was nervous about it, but after seeing the students' videos and the infographic, it was something very different. So I'll let her introduce herself. I'll mute myself now, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her experience, what she did, her research, and just give you a more in-depth about the assignment. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Zeba Aftab. I had the amazing honor of being part of Professor Jones's criminology class last semester. And to start off, what I did for my final project was I identified a societal issue rather than a crime. Even though it is technically a crime, it's just a legal crime. What I did was I targeted capitalist prison labor and how it contributed to recidivism rates amongst female prisoners that were women of color. So what I did by it was I started explaining what prison labor is and how it's different from regular labor, simply because the prisoners in our incarceration system today, our incarceration system is, for lack of a better word, it's being privatized. It's being bought out by big businesses, multinational corporations, and some of them are some of the names of these MNCs I'm going to say right in front of you because it's so scary to see how popular they are. McDonald's, Walmart, Amazon, Apple, Starbucks. It's so scary that a lot of these companies that we go to every day, they exploit the prisoners in our incarceration system. And according to the federal prison industries, these it's modern day slavery. They get paid, if they do get paid, they get paid 90 cents an hour. They have to work about 12 to 14 hours a day in dangerous situations. There are no union councils though, so they have no rights whatsoever. So after I explained thoroughly what prison labor was and how capitalism and the free market, not just in the States but throughout the entire globe, it allowed for this exploitation to go on, I offered an alternative because it wasn't really easy to find an absolute solution, but I'm going to touch on that in a second. So what my alternative to this issue was that there is sorry, my screen keeps darkening, so I keep tapping it. Okay, I'm sorry. So I offered an alternative saying that there is a Danish-based brand in Peru. It's called Garcel, which ironically means prison cell. But what the Danish-based brand Garcel, what it does is it hires Peruvian women that are in the incarceration system that are typically in there for nonviolent drug offenses and, misdemeanor crimes, but they're sentenced to jail for 10, 20 years for such minor crimes. What it does is it hires those women, it gives them jobs, it gives them money, it allows them to become financially independent, to escape, the oppressors of their past, because a lot of these women are abused or victims of domestic violence. So now they have this ability to acquire skill sets and as well as learn how to handle their money, as well as being educated. So once they are released from jail, they are not going back and committing crimes and, getting put back into jails. But now instead, what Carcel does is it makes money, it makes a profit that any other business wants to do. But it also allows for the employees of the Carcel to reintegrate properly into society so that they're not going back into the same old rabbit hole of committing crimes. But as I did mention before, so there is what it seems to be budding steps of the end of the privatization of our incarceration system. About a couple weeks ago, the Biden administration introduced that they are, President Biden, he signed an executive order that detained, not detained, oh, I'm using the wrong word. He stopped the Department of Justice from renewing any of the contracts of privatization of the incarceration system. So all of the companies that were previously exploiting all of the prison labor, now they are not allowed to, based off of President Biden's executive order. So this is a huge success. It's a budding step, but we're getting there to giving our prisoners rights that they so deeply need, as we already know, within our current racial and social injustice climate. And to wrap things up, I loved the assignment, and I did share this. It's not just because of this event, but I loved the assignment because we had the ability to think freely. We had the ability to think creatively in in an an unconventional method of teaching and learning. And it was amazing that we didn't have to just memorize the certain theories or the philosophers or the sociologists that were introducing these certain theories that we studied throughout the class regarding criminology. But Professor Jones's assignment, she allowed for us to go do our research about whatever we were passionate about and then find solutions for us. So it was a huge learning experience that I think that we would not have been able to encounter had we taken the traditional Scantron exams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so the feedback from the assignment was a wonderful thing, and I plan on deploying this assignment again. It did take a lot of work. I had to help students, but it was worth it because I saw students grow. And then another aspect that I wanted to include was that some of the students who I didn't see, that didn't turn their camera on throughout the semester, I actually got to see them when the video was recorded. So that was kind of like my trick to say, I'm going to see you eventually, you know. So that was just a great experience. And I'm so grateful that I was able to share this with you all. And thank you again.
Thank you both. What an amazing project you did. That's a wonderful outcome there. And I see in the chat people are just, you know, telling you that it's great work and you've been wonderful, and just the whole assignment put together. Obviously, hats up to the professor as well. It's a wonderful teaching and learning experience. I just saw what Laura just said. She just took the words out of my mouth. So thank you both for being here and sharing your experiences. Any comments, questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. We have one more showcase for you. So feel free to wait till the end if you want to ask some questions. I don't know how many of them can stay on, so that's why I'm always giving some time in between to ask any questions or comment. So feel free to put that there. And I am going to share that Padlet one more time because I'm just, oops, I muted myself. I'm just proud to be part of this whole fellowship and just seeing all these wonderful assignments coming through and seeing how these professors all did so much work to make sure their students are getting this wonderful experience. And then the student work is just amazing, the things I've seen. So please go to that Padlet, go click on the other videos, go check them out and see how amazing all these instructors and students were, and what kind of great work has been done out there. And with that, I'm going to turn it off to Professor Plows, who's going to talk to us about what she did and how all of that went. So it's all yours.
Hi, I've got a little person bouncing around behind me who's been enjoying listening to all of our conversation, but she's going to go and sit down now, aren't you? Thank you. Working from home is always fun. Let me share my screen with you. I'm going to just delete this down here and make this other one big. Swapping screens, making it work. Here we go. All right. So, life on land. I'm an entomologist, and I wanted to find something that was going to be both interesting and useful, and something that my students were able to do in lieu of in-person labs because the pandemic really interfered with that. And especially when you're in a large city, one has to be very careful about what sorts of projects you assign your students. And in order to make sure that my students were safe when they were outside and that they weren't risking either exposure to coronavirus or discrimination, which many Black and people of color students end up experiencing when they do field work, I had to kind of construct things a little bit differently than usual. So I worked with David Sadaway, who is a geographer who's in Canada at Kwantlen Polytech. And we created 3 assignments that each one of them is collaborative between the 2 of us and our students. Each one is interdisciplinary. And we wanted to link biology and geography as sort of sister fields together. We also wanted to be able to link students from Arizona to students in British Columbia. And we wanted our assignments to be recyclable. So they're open, but they're also able to be sort of reused. And over time, they're going to gather more value, both with respect to the students and with respect to the information that the assignments gather. So we're really kind of pushing some boundaries there. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a background. In biology, citizen science has always been important. Many of you know things like the Audubon bird count, where regular citizens will go out into their backyard and count all of the birds that they see for a 24-hour period. And then that data is used by scientists to discover new things. Well, combining the idea of citizen science with long-term ecological research is a really valuable idea. There's a National Science Foundation network called LTER, and there's a variety of different locations that are established as formal long-term ecological sites. But when you start to look at exactly what these long-term sites are gathering for their data, there is a sort of missing area. Arthropods are extremely important for getting measures of the health of a community because almost 90% of all the living animals on the planet are actually insects, which, you know, you want to count them if you want to get an idea of how healthy the place is. But insects at night are not quite as well measured. In addition, in urban environments, and specifically in the urban desert environment, we have this gap of knowledge of, well, what insects are out here? And you may have heard things like, if you buy porch lights, you want to get the dark sky porch light because it's not going to cause so much light pollution. Well, light is very important for insects. And so if you're in an urban environment, what sorts of differences would you expect for the arthropods? In addition, Arizona, in particular, is experiencing some really strong signals of climate change. So those of you who are in Maryland right now, I just want to tell you that our current temperature outside, and it may sound like bragging, but our current temperature outside is 73 degrees. And our low will be 46. And this is the time of year you'd like to be in Arizona because in the middle of the year, it's going to be 115 or 117 with a low of 95 or 97. And when you think about an organism's niche, how it's evolved to cope with certain temperature regimes and how quickly those temperatures are changing, you can imagine that having long-term data on which species are found and their relative abundance could be really important for ecologists. So we're trying to fill a gap. We're trying to help the students learn to be citizen scientists. And we're trying to get data that could be used to actually help with city planning. So we made a 2-part assignment. The first part is started in 2020 in fall, and we'll be continuing it every semester with our students in biology, where they're going to be collecting quantitative data on the arthropods, and they're sharing it in a Google Sheet, which can then be used by the geography students in the subsequent semester to analyze the urban environment and come up with prescriptions of how cities can plan to grow better. So, you can see how there's this reiterative process because next semester, the geography students will have 2 semesters worth of biology data, and then they can feed back to the biology students, here's information on what you can tell your city council. So you can go back and forth between these different fields. So the components of the lab for the biology students, first they had to gather existing geographic data. So what kind of building were they in? Were they in an on-farm or a rural environment, an urban environment? They had to figure out their zip code, their latitude and longitude, because we don't want any personal data from the students. We want to preserve their privacy, but we also need pretty specific data because the students are going to collect data outside their own homes. The students were able to experience planning and executing data, executing data collection. So they got images, numbers, and data entry. And then they were able to use that information to do a quantitative evaluation of biological diversity using Shannon indices, which are a statistical index that we can use to measure precisely the diversity of a population. So you can compare between different places, and you can compare the same place at different points in time. So here's some examples of the data. We already have over 300 data points. So we've got geographic data, which includes all of the different places that we could map out with latitude and longitude. We've got information on what sort of building type, which then the geography students are going to be able to ask questions like, how far is this building from the nearest field that is bigger than X by X? And so they can start to analyze the local environment around that person's data collection site. We also have quantitative data on what insects were found. And then we've got visual data, which hopefully we'll be able to use some artificial intelligence to be able to scrub that data, scrub those pictures for more data. It's obviously still in the piloting stage because some students had better looking pictures than others. But basically what they did is they got a piece of white paper towel or sheet or a white t-shirt and taped it underneath their porch light and went to their porch light at a certain number of hours after astronomical twilight, and then counted how many insects they found at 30-minute intervals, and they repeated that over 2 days. Now, as luck would have it, the time in the semester where the students were running this lab was the second week of October. And normally in Arizona, in the second week of October, we still have wonderfully warm weather and many, many insects. However, as you know from real life, things happen. And we got a massive cold snap where the temperature went from 120 degrees to 60 degrees in about 3 days. And so all the insects didn't come out very much during those days, which to some extent was a bit disappointing. But it was also good for the students to learn a little bit about, okay, this is how real life biology works and why you take data over extended periods of time. So I got student responses in a variety of different ways. And one way that I gathered my student responses was on Flipgrid, which was really fun. And I'll just play one of the videos because I don't think you could make it through all 20 of them, where my student describes what she did and kind of contextualizes the work. Let me see if I have been silly or not silly and adjusted my sound for you guys. Let's see. We'll see if it works. Can you hear anything?
The Lab 10, our quantitative ecology project. So over the course of 2 nights, we were taking a sheet underneath a porch light to attract bugs and count the amount of the various insects that landed on it 3 hours after sunset and record the amounts in 30-minute intervals for 2 hours. We would then to complete all the data or compile all the data that we collected to be able to combine it with others performing the same experiments and to analyze the conservation implications of urban planning. As far as what the assignment meant to me, I appreciated this assignment because it gave me an opportunity to see how one would set up a field experiment, observe what data needs to be collected and how to which data needs to be collected and how, and contribute my experimental results to a larger collective experiment. So the issue of UNSDG 15 was to take urgent and significant action to reduce the degradation of natural habitats, halt the loss of biodiversity, and by 2020 protect and prevent the extinction of threatened species. So I thought it was really cool, and my data was used to track the distribution and abundance of species in my area and ultimately prevent the extinction of these threatened species.
So there we have it, and thanks for listening. If you do like insects, Arizona is probably one of the best places on the planet to come and see insects, because we've got a really great diversity of them. So I hope that we're able to track things in such a way that we can implement some urban plans and keep all of the bugs where they belong.
Thank you so much. Again, wonderful work. I am
You're welcome.
so impressed by all of these. It's just, I'm almost speechless, actually. So these are really wonderful projects, wonderful assignments, wonderful student work. I'm just so proud to see what the students are able to do with that and how more engaged they are, right? How creative they can get because of these assignments that give them, this allowance. I don't know if anybody has any questions for any of you. If not, I actually do know I have one question, because I think it's just like knowing how much work it goes into it. I would love for all of you who, all the professors on here who were part of this, to talk a little bit to us about the amount of work maybe that you put into it, and how did this make you feel? And I know sometimes we say, like, when it's too much work, we don't know if we want to do this again, but like, I would just love to just get an idea of sharing a little bit of your reflection. Obviously it was amazing because you saw the amazing work and everything that the students are able to do and the feedback you're getting, but just also just being a little bit honest with ourselves about how else did you feel about this?
I think I can share. As it was a little bit daunting at first, because my subject, as research about trafficking of women and girls. So, try to get is not only the materials, but also try to get the, setting the stage, if you will, and sometimes, because I know when I did that documentary film a long time ago, it took a toll on me. It was quite hard to interview all these girls. So I was mindful of that and trying to also discuss that with my students. But I was very happy that they liked it, and they're doing a research project on subjects of human being is always hard. But yeah, it took a great deal of work, but I would do it again. So, yeah.
Thanks, Gaddis. I don't think I could imagine how. I mean, it's a hard and horrible thing to have to face up to that kind of data and do something with it. So I really commend you for that project. But I think overall, for all of us, hard work is not something that puts us off. I think that at least for myself, part of the motivation to deal with that hard work of getting everything set up and organized and all of the troubleshooting with the students, because I mean, you can't even imagine the flow of emails of people not being able to figure out what they should be doing or how to do things. But just the idea that once we have several cohorts of individuals who understand how simple it is to collect that data and how easy it is to collaboratively share it, where we can really start to gather a base, we do have the potential of turning this into a formal long-term project. But there's something remarkable about being able to have community college students being the ones that are leading this process. And I think for all of us, like, just to see how awesome our students are at this, it's like you give them these opportunities and they run with it really, really fast. So it is a lot of work, but you know, that's what we're here for.
Yes, Lisa, I love your comment in the chat. You are going to be the ones taking over the world, changing it and making it all better. We're all putting our hopes with you. That's wonderful. Anyone else want to share their experience one more time or any questions? And as we're waiting, I just want to remind you also, if you're participating in this conference in general, we have a lot of different ways of socializing and connecting with each other. This is one Padlet where we have all the different Padlets on, and I'm going to share one more where it's specifically about connecting more with people, where we have a column just on open pedagogy. So please go in and add your comments, like each other's comments, engage with the OER, Open and Pedagogy community. These are good ways to do it. Emerald, did you want to say something?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had to run to the ladies' room, but I just wanted to say that this experience for me was it really helps me a lot grow as not only a person, but as a professional, as someone that is a professor, and things of trying to get students more involved, but also making sure that they're learning the things that they need to learn in order to be successful. And some of the things that I felt like I lacked is when I was in school, I wanted to make sure that I was able to do that. And this fellowship allowed me that opportunity to be creative, and I felt like that was something that I needed to be stronger in. So I was creative, I was able to do something, and I was able to learn from individuals that I feel were more seasoned than me, and then deploy those assignments to my students. And I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity to do that and to be a part of that, and to also look at my other colleagues, the assignments that you all did, and how your students had such a positive impact from that. It was just it was mind-boggling, and it was just amazing being here. So again, thank you, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to share and to see you all. So yeah, thank you.
It is a community, right? And I've been saying that for years, that the only way I grow and the way I, stay creative, because sometimes it just gets so much and we're exhausted and we're pulled in 100 meetings, and I mean, there's so many things outside happening, is that collaboration and just seeing the amazing work that our colleagues are doing and their students, right? And so I'm glad you all had that wonderful experience. Glad you were part of the fellowship. We're excited to have you all. And for those out there who are interested in learning more and wanting to know more, there will be a call for the following year's fellowship that will start this summer, coming up the week of Open Ed Week, which is March 1st to the 5th. So keep an eye out on your emails from your institutions that are partnering, and you'll find more information about that. I also want to just share one more thing before we leave here. We have more wonderful showcases coming up. So next week, as I said, in the Padlet, you'll find pretty much everybody's. It's really amazing. But you'll also have another session of these next Friday from 12 to 1:30 Mountain Standard Time, and then also on the 26th. So hopefully you can join us for that. And then again, please join us next week, Friday, for more information, wonderful collaboration. We have a keynote talking to us about H5P press books. And we have an introduction, a little bit of what Open Ed Week is all about. And then we have, as I said earlier, the showcase and some other workshops happening as well. So hopefully you can all join us for more of these wonderful workshops that we have. Thank you again to all our presenters, their students, the wonderful work you did, all the fellows who might have been on the call and watched their colleagues do these wonderful things. If you have any more questions, last minute thoughts, please feel free to do it. Otherwise, we're ending it early, which is fine. I think gift of time is always something everybody's happy about. So I will thank you all for participating. It was really a wonderful experience, and thank you for the students for taking your time and coming here and participating with us. It was really amazing to see you both do it.